Warning, this video is not made for kids. If you're a kid, go away. I have read a lot of weird creepypastas throughout my days, and most of the time they were from the gaming/lost episode side. Of course, not counting troll pastas, as those are supposed to be weird on purpose, but most stories usually tend to be weird by accident. It's rare to find a story that's trying to be weird on purpose, and the ones that usually are also forgettable. However, there is one story that I remember during the heights of the creepypasta's popularity. One that was forgotten, lost to time. It's a strange pasta, and one that I would, with no doubt in my mind, call this the weirdest creepypasta ever made. And that pasta being Cervine Birth. Cervine Birth is an original YouTube-based pasta, as akin to username 666, Mariana Mordegard Gillesgorth, and Satan Sphinx, being that of a video being taken off of YouTube for being too disturbing. But unlike the other three, Cervine Birth doesn't involve any supernatural elements. It's just a weird and disturbing video made by a disturbed artist. Also, unlike the other three, however, Cervine Birth went completely under the radar. Most notoriety it got was an upload from Mr. Creepypasta, and after that, it immediately fell into obscurity. But why is that? Well, this pasta came out in late 2012, during the heights of more popular stories like Jeff the Catfish, Eyeless and Laughing Jack, Ben Drown, Lavender Town, Slender Man, Smile Dog, etc. It was quickly, like most pastas back then, overshadowed, but other pastas that came around that time that fell into obscurity like Mr. Mix, My Worst Nightmare being Teddy, and Rap Rat, soon managed to gain popularity years after they release. But this story, not so much. Like, no one really talks about it. Seriously, I can barely find anything about this story online. Hardly anyone mentions it. Well, besides from a rumor that apparently Cervine Birth was a real YouTube video, but it's not. The oldest thing relating to the story was from its creator's channel, Talasalal023, in 2011, where they uploaded the supposed audio, an entire year before it was on the Creepypasta wiki. But anyways, this video is not real, as all media related to this was made after the story's release. Not to mention that the story never states who the artist in the pasta is, but if they did, it would be easy to just look them up to find the video. Not to mention that the story doesn't have a cool mascot like Mr. Mix or Rappy the Rat and the Nightmare Teddy. Ugh. It's just a deer. But I like deers, as you can tell by my blanket and pillow, and it's probably why I never forgot this story. Deers are my favorite animals right next to, well, all sea life. It's not like people hate the story. I mean, most criticisms of it are just that some people think that it's a little pretentious and trying too hard to be all artsy. But most like it, although the most common sentiment of Cervine Birth is that it's really weird. But I guess you and I have to be the judge of that, as I will be reading this story, well, not blind, as I do remember what happens in the story, so, you get the point. Let's read. Also, subscribe and hit the notification button so you guys would actually know when I upload.
No.
In 2009, an amateur video artist studying in the UK uploaded a video onto YouTube of a recent piece he had completed. After many reports and complaints, the video was taken down. The piece allegedly begins with a lingering shot of a foggy meadow that some believe to be located in Ireland. The only sound throughout this shot is a light hissing and what sounds like a muffled, unintelligible speech. The camera starts zooming in on a white shape in the field. After several tedious minutes, the shape reveals itself to be an albino deer. A close-up shot of its eyes suddenly appears, showing signs of infection and possibly the beginning stages of blindness. The following shot is a scene of a deer staring at a vanity mirror for about a minute. After this, the piece takes a turn for the bizarre, with the deer in the reflection moving in dissonance with the real one. Zooming in, the camera focuses on the deer in the reflection, which has begun to move about in an unnatural and grotesque fashion, as if something was molding it like a piece of clay. As these unnerving contortions continue, the camera zooms out, showing a shot of the real deer lying on the ground. People have described the deer as looking strangely at peace. The shot goes for roughly 2 minutes. The reflection still twists and gesticulates, but the mirror itself seems to be growing darker. The deer lying on the ground then starts to excrete a dark fluid from under its tail, suggesting that a birth is about to occur. The tar-like substance continues to bubble and seep out of the deer and onto the ground. This is the point where many people claim to have stopped watching the video. Some accounts vary on what happens next, but many describe a scene where a stillborn, humanoid infant is birthed from the deer, covered in a dark tar-like sludge that makes it hard to describe exactly what it looks like. Some have claimed it was a model of a human-animal hybrid, put together by the artist for the sake of this film. A blurry close-up shot of the hybrid's face is seen for a few seconds before it cuts back to the mirror, now broken, with the same field from the beginning. Black and white stock footage of an audience applauding is shown in slow motion, and then the film ends with a 5-minute shot of a black screen, accompanied by unintelligible murmuring slowly fading in volume. Many say that the film can no longer be found online, while others state that the audio track is sometimes circulated around file-sharing programs like BitTorrent. There are even some who claim to have obtained the film itself through such means. Occasionally, screenshots surface on image boards and other such sites, but the film itself has hardly been seen since its initial debut. A year later, the artist posted another video on YouTube. This time, it was just a 5-minute video of a black screen and silence, with a link to a webcam site in the description to serve as evidence. Viewers describe seeing a pair of dangling, pale feet slightly rotating above a knocked-over chair. The creator of the video, Cervine Birth, is best known for the shocking final piece, but many are not as aware of his earlier works, which are similar in terms of content and style. Shot in black and white, the piece often referred to as Foxtrot was created in early 2005. The film begins with a shot of a moonlight forest and a slow fade to the beginning of the first scene. A gaunt, malnourished-looking fox is seen staggering through the forest, wailing and crying out in a haunting voice, with what appears to be a noose tied around its neck. The camera follows the rope to the end, where the fox cubs can be seen dragging behind. It isn't certain whether the cubs are dead or not. The film cuts to a brief shot of the crescent moon as it slowly devolves into a shapeless blur. The soundtrack for the film so far consisted mostly of the fox wailing and a wailing musical track many described as unnatural and unnerving. It cuts again to a clearing in the forest. The fox is seen ambling towards the center, still dragging her young behind her. The music gradually fades into silence as the fox curls up on the ground, getting ready to die. After a few moments with nothing but her final breaths breaking up the silence, a close-up of her face is shown. Her eyes are still glimmering under the moonlight. A pair of small, pale, childlike hands start to caress her face. More small hands start showing up in the shot, before the camera slowly zooms out to show much of the fox's body being covered in caressing hands and arms. The shot flickers out a few times before cutting into the interior of a darkened household. The camera slowly makes its way into the dining room, where a family of corpses is shown decaying in their seats. On the table is the same fox, but this time it is alive and healthy, tending to her cubs. Close-up shots of the bodies follow, revealing them to possess wounds indicating a possible mass suicide. In the closing shot, a moth is seen fluttering around a dangling light bulb in the dark room. Then a hand that can only be described as animal-like reaches up and shuts it off. So that was Cervine Birth. It's not much. It's pretty short and simple. It's just a creepy video that people thought was too creepy. It's nice to read a story that is well written with no grammar issues. And it's a bit more original too. It doesn't curse you if you watch it. It was simply just a video. It could actually happen. I mean, there are some pretty weird art films out there. I mean, just look at Begotten. And other films that are also very disturbing, so Cervine Birth isn't too far out there. But the thing I like about this story the most is that it leaves a lot to interpretation. God, I can't say that word for some reason. This pasta opens the door to many questions and theories like the metaphors for Cervine Birth and Foxtrot. Why did the creators supposedly hung themselves, and how did the video get uploaded if that's the case? It leaves you wondering, which is what I love a lot in a creepypasta like Ed, Edd and Freddy. But before I start making my own theories, it would be best to first look at Cervine Birth's prequel. On the creator's YouTube channel, they uploaded a video called Lost Keys, which in the description shares a story behind it, and it's revealed that in the story that it takes place in the same universe as Cervine Birth and Foxtrot. So, let's read. In 2004, St. Mary Queen of Martyrs Roman Catholic Primary School in Hull, England, introduced a selection of young filmmakers from a nearby secondary school. They wanted to showcase new avenues of creativity for their students in a motivational, creative manner. Most of the films were lighthearted well enough, making the children laugh and roll on the ground at times, with such things as animated cartoon animals and other comedic routes of storytelling. There was something not quite right about that day according to some of the older people attending the event. A student we will name David brought their therapy dog in that day as usual. The dog was whining the entire time. David was quite provoked due to his anxiety problems by the other children's screams and laughter, often having to leave the room almost shaking uncontrollably. Though the day was going well enough with that aside, one filmmaker presented their film with an unusual apology. "I'm sorry for this, sincerely, but this was not of my hands." This particular artist and film student had a leave of absence for a few months due to an unknown family emergency. After coming back, he seemed different. People were unsure what to make of it, but as soon as the short 1.5-minute film played, which he presented before those children, a subtle yet different shift occurred in the otherwise still air. Many children closed their eyes and absorbed the flickering lights on the screen. One had a seizure due to their epilepsy, and a few passed out. Others complained about something else being inside the room at that moment. In that short, chaotic moment, David seemed calm for once. There was something slightly alarming to this, but after the film stopped, he collapsed. Upon waking around the same minute as the other children within the small hospital, David no longer responded to his name, though did accept the second, written apology from the unusual artist and film student. Upon arriving home, his parents kept a close eye on him due to the possible trauma. They noticed more time spent with his dog and sister, as well as drawing of symbols unknown to the family. Though unusual, they didn't see it as a threat. When not in school, he spent much of his time outside with his sister and dog, until it would get dark. His sister had told people in school and her parents that she and the dog would play a new game with her brother on an up-and-coming Sunday in a secret language. They have constructed a large triangle out of scraps of branches and other such things outside. Their parents felt great unease at this. Upon exploring their internet history, they found the same video being played numerous times. Inside the room of the children, they made a wall of friends, collage of multiple limb animals with several heads arranged in a pattern of a geometric shape. On such a horrific discovery, something completely unexplained and unearthly, they rushed outside on that Saturday evening. They saw fires made at each point of the triangle, and in the center was the family dog with the head of the daughter sewn on, with several human limbs coming outwards of the dog's body as well, particularly around the head. The nerves and muscles were still active and seemed to move around slightly, in a way most unnatural. David was never found, and neither was the rest of her sister's body. What became of the family's dog was slaughtered by the father with a hunting knife. Upon word spreading around town, the artist and filmmaker of the short that triggered all of this fled elsewhere. Many later knew him as the film creator of Cervine Birth and Foxtrot. So that was Lost Keys, and it was not as good as Cervine Birth. All of that semi-realistic stuff that happened in the last story has been completely thrown out the window. Instead, it's revealed that there are some supernatural forces behind the creator's work that drives people insane. Going from a disturbing art house film akin to Begotten to an urban legend of sorts. But I will say it's still not bad by itself. Definitely better than the stories I've read so far on this channel. It does actually open the gates to even more theories too. And with the information that I've gotten from both stories, I have made my own theory of what Cervine Birth is and what is going on with the creator. But keep in mind that this is only just a theory. I highly think that the creator made these stories with it in mind. This is just for fun, so with that being said, let's theorize! So my theory is that the creator of Cervine Birth was being forced to make these disturbing videos about animals by some kind of malevolent entity a god or a demon of some sorts. I personally think it's a demon. It all started with the creator's leap of absence due to a family emergency, which is where he probably met the creature for the first time, and probably made a deal with it, or in his case, the devil, to make these videos as sort of a recruitment to its cult, or maybe a ritual to bring it into our world. Which is what happened to David. After he saw the video Lost Keys, he ended up becoming obsessed with the video, and soon a follower of the beast. He would use his sister and dog to do a ritual, which is what the triangle was in his backyard. And we all know what happens next. David creates his weird human-animal hybrid out of his sister and dog before disappearing, which I personally believe that this Frankenstein is supposed to be a host for the creature, which is how the Frankenstein was alive and moving. But before the ritual could be finished, the father killed it. So that means that the creator had to make more films like Foxtrot in order to groom more people into doing its rituals, and it seems to be successful this time of finding a host body, as in the end of Foxtrot, a half-human, half-animal hand was shown at the end, which means that it's out there, somewhere, in its physical form, with its followers. Which brings us to Cervine Birth, which in itself is a metaphor of what the creature is doing to its victims. The deer in the beginning is stated to be sick and almost going blind. While not sick, David has anxiety problems that were very severe, which means that the creature specifically preys on vulnerable people, like the mentally ill, the sick, desperate and tortured souls, etc. Which is what probably happened to the creator as he was in a vulnerable position with his family, which is probably what the fox was supposed to mean in Foxtrot as it's dragging its young. And the creature, seeing his filmmaking skills, decided to use him as a way to get out there more. Later in Cervine Birth, the deer looks into a mirror that warps and folds, and causes the deer to die. AKA, the mirror represents the videos, and how they are grooming their victims like the deer who dies and becomes at peace. Like how David was oddly at peace after watching Lost Keys while all the other kids were having seizures and convulsions. Obviously, the birth itself is supposed to represent the creature itself being born from the rituals, like David with his Frankenstein, and the mirror being broken, which means it is now free from its virtual prison, like in the ending of Foxtrot. The black and white footage of the audience applying is supposed to be the creature being satisfied with the video? I guess. Now, the creator of these videos did not want to make these at all. He was forced by the creature after some kind of agreement. He felt horrible for doing this, such as in Lost Keys where he apologized to the kids, as like he says, this was out of his hands. The creator felt trapped. Even after the creature was finally hosted, it still forced him to make videos, so the creator decided enough was enough, and he would end up hanging himself as the guilt was too much. But it seems like now the creature itself is making these videos, as it would post the creator's suicide on the webcam site and YouTube before disappearing. No one knows where it's at, but all we know is that it's up to no good. Be careful with what you watch next on the internet. So that was my theory on Cervine Birth and Lost Keys. Like I said before, it's just my own interpretation, but it's fun to theorize with stories that, well, pretty much no one talks about. It sucks that Cervine Birth is completely forgotten, as if you look past the weirdness, there is a hidden lore to it. I love creepypastas that make you think and look deeper into them, which is why I would give this story a 5 out of 5. Truly underrated. Sucks that nobody cares about it. Oh yeah, Lost Keys would be a 3 out of 5 too. That's it. That's the video. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, pretty please. Wish me horrible luck, and I will see you in the next vid. Goodbye.